Surrounded in this modern world, and particularly in this television studio, with electromagnetic radiation. It's all around us and goes through us, and some people are convinced that it makes them sick. Urban myth or a genuine cause for concern? Well, Brian Stein is a businessman. Is a businessman who says that he can't have anything electrical in his office. It would make him feel ghastly, because it does. Sarah Dacre says she's only able to sit in this studio because she's wearing electromagnetic-proof clothing under her normal clothing, which we'll show us in a minute. And also here, nuclear physicist Dr. Paddy Regan, who says Brian and Sarah, and people like them, may well be feeling rotten and ill, but they're wrong. It's got nothing to do with electricity or electromagnetic fields or anything like it. I know you're going to tell him he's wrong. When did this start occurring to you?
99, some weird sensations started to happen to me whilst I was using a mobile phone.
How long have you been a user of mobile phones for a long time?
I used it for about 15 years, and for 14 years, no problems at all. I was one of these people that didn't get a good reception, so more masts, more masts, more masts.
Yeah.
And then in my 15th year of using a mobile phone, I started to experience these quite weird sensations. So, phone to my head, weird sensation, took it away, sensation went away. And
what was it, a tingling or what?
It was a pain that started to become quite extreme in my ear, as well as tingling sensations and a bit like my nerve endings starting to be agitated.
And when did this extend to electrical equipment? I mean, you know, we've been to your office and had a good look around. You've got nothing there. You haven't got a computer. You've just got a very basic battery-operated calculator.
Correct.
Your bedroom at home, you haven't got a television in there.
Correct.
How did it spread to other electrical devices?
Well, one day, after about a year of being a bit sensitive, although I cut down on my use of a mobile phone, sadly I didn't stop, and I used a mobile phone, and putting it to my head, there was like an explosion in my eardrum exploding. Very painful experience, and that's when I swore I wouldn't use a mobile phone again. And then what I found over the next few weeks and months is the weird sensations that I'd had a year earlier using my mobile phone, I started to get in front of a television, in my car, in front of a computer.
And how sick do you get? What, apart from this sort of strange sensation in your ear, what else happens to you?
In my particular case, it's very severe. So, for example, these weird sensations that I would get would then spread to my face, my tongue, my lips, my throat, and then the day before you get the flu. Yeah. Just like that. And if I got away from the field, it would go away.
Will you be ill after appearing here tonight? Will you...
I will have terrible tinnitus tonight, but in the extreme...
Because of sitting in the studio?
Because of sitting in the studio.
All right, well, let's just move on to you, Sarah. I've got it slightly wrong. In fact, the drape, the little shawl that you have over you, that's your protective mesh. What's it made of?
It's called Swiss Bobbinet. It's covered in silver metal.
Filaments, yeah.
Yeah. And if you look at it under a microscope, it's got about 9 threads per honeycomb. And it just actually, if you test your environments with the smog detector, it'll cut it out by about 19...
Smog detector?
Well, it's electrical smog.
Yeah.
All right.
So I'm protected under this.
You had a very successful career working in television.
Yeah.
So you worked in studios amongst tons and tons of electrical equipment. And how long ago did you start to get sensitised to what you believe to be this?
Well, 2 years ago, my career just came to a grinding halt.
Why? What happened?
I started feeling headaches, pains, palpitations. My right eyesight actually went to 0. They gave me glasses, which I then returned once I shielded my environment and took a step back from living, really. I can't have mobile phones on in my house or my office. I'm 2 hours only on a computer during the day, and that's about it.
And the reason that you both think, and you think, that this is because of electromagnetic fields is because it only occurs when you go near electrical equipment.
Yeah, driving through here, I've turned my detector on, a lot of masts, a lot of smog driving through wherever we've driven here to, and it was screeching, actually, and my eyeballs get very, very hot now.
Let me explain the most extreme.
Really quickly.
I took part in the Essex studies where they're trying to detect people who are electrically sensitive. I was in the room, double blind, that was shielded, and you don't know whether the mast is on or off. I was in the room for an hour. They wanted to know whether I thought it was on or off, and I said, well, I think it's on, but I will know within a few hours. And you have a form to fill in and send it back to them. By that night, I was exhibiting extreme pain, and I started bleeding internally.
And the mast had been on?
And the mast... Well, I had the results from Essex study, and it told me, I'd written down, they had got it, 100% certain the mast was on. It turns out the mast was on, but because I was so severely affected, and couldn't finish the tests, they're not going to take my experiences into account.
OK.
OK. Paddy, what do you make of all this?
I mean, they're very harrowing personal experiences, and I certainly would not belittle the potential. I'm sure people actually exhibit and feel these symptoms, but I mean, the fact of the matter is, in the published literature by, for example, the International Commission of Non-Ionising Radiological Protection, and which is sponsored by the World Health Organization, they don't have an axe to grind particularly, and our own Health Protection Agency, and they've done lots of studies in this, and they find no statistical evidence to back up that there is a causal effect.
Are you saying it's a psychic phenomenon?
Well, I mean, my colleague, Dr. James Rubin from the Institute of Psychiatry at King's College in London, I mean, he's done a study where a review, basically, where he's looked at all of the he considers to be the useful literature in the subject, and all the studies have been on it, and they find no causal effect. Now, that doesn't mean that there is absolutely no effect. I mean, these are personal issues here.
With the sound down here, we don't need the sound up in here, but just roll this here. I mean, here we have an experiment. It's actually an art experiment where fluorescent tubes are placed directly underneath overhead cables carried by pylons. And obviously there's an electrical field. A lot of us who walked on the pylons feel our hair standing up on end. And it's powerful enough to ignite the gases inside the fluorescent tubes and make them react. Now, you know, we're just laymen here, but if you can do that...
It's a dramatic picture, that. And, I mean, that's a perfect example. So, as a scientist, I can explain exactly why that happens. And you can't use science to explain why that happens and then disregard the science when...
No. All we're saying is it does prove there is a proven electromagnetic field around...
Well, any motion of electrons, any motion of current will give rise to an electromagnetic field.
Right.
You have that in your television or in old telephones, if you like.
George Carlo was in charge of the research in America.
Yes.
And what he found was that in tests, DNA damage, blood-brain barrier damage, and cell tissue was being damaged at levels significantly below the levels that are permitted.
Well,
as soon as he found below the levels that we all use...
We aren't, and sadly, obviously, I'm not going to resolve this at all tonight, but we did want to at least have a brief discussion about it. You're saying no scientific evidence, you're saying, sorry...
Excuse me, can I interrupt and say, in the UK, I've got acres of research in Germany, America, Sweden, Japan. I can send you bookloads of it.
Then we'll come back to it then.
We have nothing to prove.
No, thank you all very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now,